I would for sure think there is a core collection of drumming books or classics, I should say, that you should go through.
Ok.
Because they more or less represent the foundation of where we come from as drum set players.
Ciao ragazzi, siamo qui al Lab Camp con Claus Hessler, che è uno dei nostri insegnanti. The other question is if there is a particular exercise to help us with the rebound, the control of the stick, and maybe it's a rudiment, I don't know, but if you have a...
I mean, rebound really is possibly one of the single most important concepts to understand when it comes to drumming, because with every stroke you make, there's always an active side and there's a passive side. Of course, you need to invest some sort of a movement to make the stick meet the surface, whatever it is, a drum head or a cymbal or a cowbell or whatever.
Yes.
But there's also the action after the impact, the reaction of the stick. And understanding that was important for actually all of those legendary drum teachers of the last century. I would say, beginning from Stone to Burns Moore, Billy Gladstone, Sanford Moeller, Jim Chapin. I should also mention Dom Famularo. And I mean, all these giants thought it would be extremely important to understand rebound. So they came up with, actually, I would even call it the mother of all strokes. It was just, they gave it different names.
Okay.
And this is something I picked up both from Jim and from Dom. And to some degree, I mean, they called it differently, but more or less they did the same thing. So Stone's concept was called the free stroke that he developed, I think also to some good degree in cooperation with Joe Morello. So the free stroke was all about throwing the stick down and letting the stick react to the maximum. And Chapin and Moeller, they called it stop at the top. So they thought a single stroke should return to its starting position.
Okay.
And Billy Gladstone called it catching the bounce, which is also describing what's happening here, because you're catching the stick as it bounces back up again.
Okay.
And it all comes down to understanding that the more relaxed your hand really is, the more rebound you will produce. And the more reaction of the stick you will see. The tighter your hand is, the more you kill rebound.
And also maybe the energy of the stroke comes up to your arms and
that is
cause damages.
That is another side effect, correct. So the energy at the impact is not, say, absorbed somewhere, but it goes into your joints and bones and all of that. And there's for sure a certain likeliness for more or less of an injury.
Okay. Do you think that this type of technique is the same on the drums or on the pad is different? Because I know there's a lot of different pads, like reflex, no rebound pads, or maybe because personally, for all my life, I played something like that from HQ, the old HQ. That it has a lot of rebound, and that I can find only on the snare. In my kit. And then in the other part of the drums, it's quite different. So we can deal with the rebound in the same way on the toms, or there is a different way?
That's a good question, actually, because when you apply this concept around the drums, you will, as you said, you notice there's a different amount of rebound from each of the surfaces that are organized around you. The snare may have a lot, a hi-hat may have less or more, depending on how you play it. Toms will have a different amount of rebound. So I think the art of understanding drum set playing comes down to the art of understanding rebound and to reacting to the different amounts of rebound that are presented from all of these different surfaces.
Okay.
And I think the art comes in to react to that different amount of rebound, like in split seconds.
Okay.
I know what I expect from which surface, and I adjust my playing in the corresponding way. Especially if a certain surface doesn't have a lot of rebound,
Okay, a floor tone.
it's even more important to understand the concept of rebound. When you go out in the desert and which there's no water, water becomes even more important, right? You don't throw it away when you go into the desert. So when you play on a surface that has very little rebound, it's even more important to understand the concept of rebound and not saying, okay, I'm going to the desert. I only have one little bottle of water, so I'm going to be thirsty at some point anyhow, so I'm going to throw away the water.
Okay.
How stupid is that? But
a
lot of times I see people do exactly that.
Okay.
So to me, I was actually never the biggest fan of this pillow practicing thing.
Okay.
And also a lot of my teachers weren't. Like Chapin wasn't a fan of it.
Okay.
And there's an interesting story about Moeller, because at some point he was having plans about metal sticks.
Okay.
And the thing was that that he wanted to understand how the stick is singing, if you will, when you hold it in a very relaxed fashion. Let's say you hear the stick do this, and if it's a metal stick, you hear even more of that. But Moeller got away from it because he found out the only metal sticks he could make were like way too heavy for him. So he put the idea aside. And also people like Roy Burns, for instance. I mean, I remember an article in the Modern Drummer where he would say, there are no shortcuts. You got to do your homework. You need to understand how a stick reacts from different surfaces. But as you never perform on a pillow on the stage, does it make sense to understand how a pillow is reacting when you try to make music? And I know there is room for discussion here, and I don't want to put it down like on all accounts, but I'm saying he has a point when he says you're not performing on a pillow, so why would you practice on a pillow?
Practice on what you use,
practice on
drums.
what you have. And I mean, also at my house, I know the answer is long, but I have a big collection of different pads that give me different amounts of rebound, just like different drums give you different amount of rebound. So practice different surfaces, but I would, me personally, I mean, it's just what I do. I never practice on something that has no rebound at all, because I just don't get the point of it.
Okay.
But it may just be me. It's 16.5 inches, which is half an inch longer than usual sticks would be. So that gives me that little extra reach that allows me not to
move too much.
invest a lot of motion.